Welcome back, my viewers, to a new episode of All the Mods 9, the ultimate kitchen sink mod pack with everything a player wants. Structures to loot, villages to desecrate, bosses to slay, and tech mods to grind. I am Bedrock Burger, your local you've gained a power pip kind of guy. In the last episode, I started All the Mods 9, setting up a nuclear reactor and a starter home. In this episode, I begin Botania. I say begin because I get sidetracked a billion times and don't finish it this episode. Distractions are a real pain, yeah? Do the goodies that every YouTuber tells you to do, and let's begin. To start right off, I made the Petal Apothecary. With water in it, I could toss in mystical flower petals and a seed to make a Botania functional flower. There are mystical flowers scattered all over the overworld, but if you're lazy like I am, you could make some grow with the floral fertilizer made from bone meal and a bunch of dye. I grew some flowers, then harvested what I needed. The first flower in the quest book to make was the Pure Daisy, essential to the rest of the mod's progression. Tossing 4 white petals made from 2 mystical white flowers and a seed into the Petal Apothecary made this flower. It converted real world logs and stone into living wood and living rock respectively. This mod is all about conversion, you'll see. I converted some living wood, then pivoted to make a dank one. These danks are like backpacks but could hold more per slot. I pivoted again to make a Wand of the Forest, which was like a wrench for Botania. Pivoting once more, I made a dock for the dank so I can place it in world. I need to use danks more, they're pretty great actually. I then made living rock by placing it around the Pure Daisy. With a bunch of living rock, I made 4 mana pools, as I wanted to go big on mana. To start the mana generation, I made the Hydrangeas. It ate infinite water sources to make mana. It sucked butts. Too slow, didn't make a lot, and it expired after a bit. It was needed to complete a quest though. I also made a mana splitter, which split mana between pools around it. I have 4 pools, so it splits 4 ways. To get mana into the splitter, I crafted a mana spreader, which shot mana stored in a flower to whatever it was facing. With the Wand of the Forest, I could direct the mana into the splitter. These spreaders did experience mana loss, however. Mana loss happens as the mana is shot from the spreader. Some is lost over distance. There's upgrades to the spreaders that fix this, but honestly I couldn't be bothered right now. I made an Endoflame in the Petal Apothecary, which ate burnable materials to generate mana. I did get a comment saying I should use carpet dupers, but I recorded this section about a month ago. Maybe next time. Anyways, I made the Runic Altar next, which allowed me to toss stuff on and pump in mana to craft runes. Runes to make more flowers and new materials within the mod. I made my first rune, but to make the specific flower I wanted, I needed eggs to make a cake. I made a mob yoinker, which ate some experience to pick up mobs. I grabbed a chicken and named it Jeff. Jeff would give me eggs to make stuff. He's my new friend now. Surely nothing bad would happen, right? Anyways, after a bit of grinding, I crafted a Munchdew in the Petal Apothecary. If you haven't seen my short on this, or the section of my most recent 100 Days ADM Skyblock episode, these flowers are crazy with their mana generation. Very consistent too, they ate leaves in world to make mana. So grow trees and it eats the leaves. It does have a bit of a cooldown after eating, but that's fine. To account for the logs being left, I worked on a create contraption to solve it. Simply put, it was a tree farm. The purpose of it was to chop the logs that the Munchdews leave behind, and chop them when the Munchdews are on cooldown. It deposits the wood and stuff into a barrel so it doesn't overflow and lag everything. With better mana generation setup being worked on, I built a tiny cabin. The purpose of this one was to house the eventual Alfheim portal. I wouldn't get to opening that portal this episode, but I will soon. I spent more time creating more Munchdews, up to 4 for now. With the 4 created, I could let it just run for a bit. I was running short on mystical flowers, so I used mystical agriculture to make mystical flower seeds. These seeds could grow into essence that could then be crafted into mystical flowers. I could leave my mana generation setup alone for a bit and work on other stuff. I started this, working on other stuff by goofing off and making factory upgrades to my furnaces, which let them use power instead of fuel. Should have done this earlier, this is probably one of the best early game things in the pack. I was making a ton of power, so why not use it? I then decided once again to explore the world, looking for whatever valuables I could. I was most interested in finding materials from the Iron Spells and Spellbooks mod, as it was a very cool mod with spells and spellbooks. I did find a Pyromancer tower as I was exploring, which was perfect. Pyromancy, the use of flames to deal a ton of damage. Perfect for me. Defeating a Pyromancer gave me scrolls for spells and materials to make my current fire spells stronger. I had already obtained a Blaze instruction manual earlier, which was a fire-based spellbook. In another structure, I found a map to follow. It took me thousands of blocks, and along the way I found the everlasting beef in a village, which was an infinite food source. Extremely strong, I never have to worry about food ever again. Continuing on, the map led me to a monastery, which was just a cooler looking village. A bit of a bummer, but hey, I got the everlasting steak, so I was happy. I returned home and started work on figuring out how iron spells and spellbooks worked. I had found an inscribing table around, which let me inscribe spells into a spellbook, turning them from single use to infinite use as long as they were in my spellbook. I had a really good spell already, the Burning Dash spell. It yeeted me forward really fast. I inscribed a few more spells, then put the book in the right slot, the spellbook slot. In my hubris with magic, I went mad with power, wanting to see how my spells worked. In my frenzy, I killed Jeff, the poor chicken slain by my own hand. Grief-struck, I buried him on the lake shore and mourned the loss of my clucking buddy. I vowed then to make sure I never fat-fingered the spellcast button ever again, I totally do it again, and avenge my chicken friend by completing the mod in his honor. Anyways, I crafted almost a full set of Pyromancer armor using Arcane Cloth, which was made from Arcane Essence, a material within the mod. I didn't have enough to make the full set, unfortunately. That would come later. For now, I resumed my work on Botania, as I felt my mana pools were big enough for now. I worked on making the Terrestrial Agglomeration Plate, which was the crafting plate used to make Terra Steel, the next big Botania thing. I already had Mana Steel, which was iron tossed into a mana pool, so on to the green stuff. I finished the T-plate, then made a few sparks, which acted as wireless mana transfer to blocks that accepted mana. I tossed a Mana Steel, made from iron, a Mana Diamond, made from a diamond, and a Mana Pearl, made from an Ender Pearl, onto the plate, and watched the sparks fly. I was able to make my very first Terra Steel ingot, the first of many to come. With it, I downcrafted it into nuggets for a good reason, to make the portal to Alfheim. I made 2 Natura pylons, which would need to sit above 2 mana pools that were almost full to open up the portal. I crafted the materials to make the portal, then assembled it inside the tiny cabin I had made earlier. And with that, I abruptly end the episode. Why? Well, right after making the portal, I get completely sidetracked for actual hours, not returning to Botania in any meaningful way, except to open the portal later on. So this is a good stopping point for now, as next episode we go crazy. Stay tuned for that one. Thank you all for watching. Bedrock Burger, out.